Hi, I'm Dick Seitz. Welcome to the Software Screw-Up series based on my book, Understanding Software Dynamics. In the index of the book, there's an entry for performance screw-ups, and there's about 45 different sub-entries. Today is episode 1, about a 200 microsecond delay in the network. So here's the network transmission from a user request over here on a client through a syscall write, through TCP/IP queuing, a network interface card, transmitting to another machine's network interface card, giving an interrupt to run the kernel TCP code, responding, sending data to a read posted by a user request. And that whole process in this example that we're looking at takes about 200 microseconds too long. Normally you'd expect from end to end to be well under 30 microseconds. So here's what's going on. We have a user program that's sending a bunch of packets or messages to the kernel. The kernel on the server, on the client, turns that into packets that go into a ring buffer, queuing up outbound traffic for the hardware network card, goes across, comes in, goes into a hardware ring buffer, which then the TCP code picks up. Eventually, packets go to the kernel, and those packets go onto the user code. So what's going on when it's 200 microseconds too long? Well, here's one of the problems. If there are a bunch of different senders, a bunch of different clients, all sending packets, and a whole bunch of packets arriving at once, and the network interrupt, the network interface card, if it sends an interrupt to the processor for each and every incoming packet, what happens is you get too many interrupts too quickly. And the processor spends all of its time handling interrupts and not any much time doing stuff with the packets. So the solution to that problem is called interrupt coalescing. And the idea is pretty simple, that hold off sending the interrupt until either some number of packets have arrived or some number of microseconds have elapsed. It takes a while to find out what the configuration is. In Linux, there's this wonderful incantation, sudo ethtool-c enp4s0, which shows the coalescing parameters. The default is to wait 200 microseconds after a packet comes in before sending an interrupt, or wait for 4 packets, whichever occurs first. So we're looking at this receiving NIC, getting a bunch of packets, and it sits there waiting until either 4 packets arrive or 200 microseconds. In the test that I was measuring, the original message sent was 4 kilobytes, which the kernel broke up into 3 packets, not 4, 3. And therefore, when they arrived at the NIC, this wasn't triggered, and the NIC sat there for 200 microseconds before it finally told the receiving kernel that there was traffic available. So what's the fix for this? The fix is pretty simple. It's to change the NIC parameters to something more modern. The 200 microseconds default was set in the 1970s, and it would be much more reasonable these days to have something like a 20 microsecond delay before notifying the receiving kernel. So that's it for today. Thank you for listening to and watching the Understanding Software Dynamics Software Screw-Up series. Take care.